Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are back with my January reading wrap up. So I read 10 books this month. 10 books was the goal. It is the goal every month to reach my 120 book reading goal of the year. So I just scraped by. I kind of went into a little bit of a slump this month, I won't lie. But we started out the year really good. So let's get into the books that I read in January. I've also got my reading journal here so I know my thoughts on these books. Okay, we started out strong with Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I read this on the 1st of January. I stayed up till 1 a.m. So technically I finished on the 2nd, but to me it was still the 1st. And I rated this 5 stars. I practically read it in one sitting. I absolutely loved this book. Julian Lopez owns my heart. I am telling you now, this man, oh, it was so good, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series. It's going to be amazing. I can just tell. Did I say I rated it 5 stars? I'm not sure. I never know what I say in these videos half the time. Yeah, the book had me hooked from the very beginning, and I loved the characters. All of the characters are very lovable. Even when Julian was a little bit annoying, which wasn't very often. It was more at the very beginning. He was a bit like, why are you like this? You know? The mental health rep was also very good and very well done. There was a few topics that were mentioned in the book that I don't think Lauren Ash has covered before, and I thought they were just very well done. And it was nice that I find that in all her books, as we will go on in a minute, have some sort of topic they're dealing with. And in this one, it was to do with like sort of fertility and yeah, I don't want to say too much. I'm gonna just leave it at fertility as the issue that was sort of the other topic that was being talked about in the book. But it was very well represented, and her mental health was very well represented as well. I will just say this book is a slow burn. The first 200 to 250 pages, we were getting crumbs, literal crumbs. But my God, were those crumbs keeping us fed? I loved every little last tiny morsel that we got of them, their budding sort of going back to friendship after, because this is basically friends to hate, because they weren't enemies and they aren't rivals in any way. So friends to hate, well, kind of friends to lovers to hate to friends to lovers. There was a whole lot going on. But Julian was just the perfect man because he was really willing to be vulnerable when she wasn't, and he knew he had to show her this vulnerable side and talk to her and let her in. And I really appreciate that because so many MMCs are just so obtuse and they don't know how to speak and they don't know how to be vulnerable. And my God, it's annoying because real life men are like that. And I don't want to read about men like that in my books. I want to read about perfect men, not real life men. Thank you. So yeah, Julian Lopez, beautiful. Okay, after that, we're continuing on with the Lauren Asher theme. I read Throttled because I had the Dirty Air series and I thought, you know what? I loved Love Redesigned, love the Dreamland Billionaire series. Let's read this. And then that means I've got Lauren Asher's full backlog done. So this one is a sports romance. It's F1 racing. It's brothers rival and I guess technically forced proximity because of it's his brother's rival slash teammate. What I found, and I'm not comparing the books in any way because that's not really fair, but with reading her latest book and then her first book, there was a very comparable difference between the writing style and the writing quality. Maybe the writing style is pretty similar, but the quality was definitely different. I found in Throttled, and to be honest, the rest of the Dirty Air series, it got better towards the end of the series, absolutely. But especially like in Throttled and Collided, some of the sentences felt like they were kind of tacked on because there was information she wanted to add, but there wasn't like a more cohesive way to do it. Whereas in Love Redesigned, every paragraph felt more thought out and well structured. So you never felt like there was a random sentence just kind of tacked on to add information in without having a good sort of segue to it. So that was the main difference I think I noticed between the two, but I noticed it more probably because I'd gone from latest book to first book. So yeah, that was like my first thing. But obviously this book was released in, was it 2020? And then this one in 2023. So in the space of like 3 years and 7 books, she's really improved her writing. And I think that's just really commendable. I think that's really good. And I think it was very obvious. So that's a skill. Obviously, you're going to get better. Your writing's going to get better over time. But I think over only 3 years, I think it's shown a massive improvement. So I'm very like impressed with that, if anything. I found at first I didn't like Noah pretty much at all because he was an absolute knobhead, quite frankly. Especially after he had his first date with Maya, he does something very stupid. But I found that was the pivotal point for his character development. And after that, he notices in himself, hang on, I have these traits that I really don't like about myself and I want to change them. And you do see that change. So I think it was good for his character development, but it was a stupid move on his half, what he did. I also straight off the bat loved Santi, and I was so looking forward to his book from reading this because he's just, I don't know, I love his character. So from this one, I was already really enjoying Santi's book, but I knew his was the last one, and I was like, why do I have to wait that long? But I'm very glad I did have to wait that long. You will see why. Oh, also, there is no third act breakup, which was a big thumbs up from me because not every romance needs a third act breakup. They're sometimes very stupid and they're there just for plot and it's ruins the book, you know? Okay, then I went straight on to Collided, also by Lauren Asher, the second book in the Dirty Air series. I rated this one, did I tell you? Throttled was 4 stars, just in case I forgot. This one I rated 3.5 stars. I thought at first I was going to like this one more because I like Liam as a character more. He was less insufferable than Noah was at the beginning. And especially because the very first chapter broke my heart in this book. Absolutely broke my heart. I don't know what it was. By the end, it started feeling slightly Wattpad-y, which did take me out of it a little bit. And I can't exactly describe what it was that made it feel Wattpad-y. It just felt, there was a few things that happened. There was there's usually a press conference after races. And it was one of those especially, I was just like, I don't know. So I rated 3.5 because as well, I liked Sophie better in this book because in the first book she felt kind of controlling. I did a reading vlog in which I finished this, so you'll have more of my thoughts in that one. It was my first reading vlog of the year that I put up. So I liked Sophie better in this book, but she did kind of give me Pick Me Girl vibes. I don't know. But of course, I did have a good time reading this. The tropes, obviously sports romance, friends to lovers, and friends with benefits. Okay, the next book I read was Part of Your World. My full thoughts of this book are in the reading vlog. I highly recommend you watch it, only because you see me come to terms with the fact and realise that as I'm talking about the book that I've just said, oh, I really enjoyed this. No, I actually hated this book. And it's not the plot that was the problem. It's not really even the FMC or the MMC that's the problem in their relationship. It's fully, the FMC is the problem. She's 37 years old. Why is she letting her literal geriatric parents tell her what she has to do? You're an ER doctor. You've got a pretty important job. People's lives literally depend on you. And you can't tell your parents, I'm going to be who I want to be with. I'm not going to be with the person you want me to be with because he's emotionally abusive. Which, first of all, red flag. If your parents are telling you to be with someone they know is emotionally abusive, kick your parents out your life. You don't need that. Why would you have, literally, I don't care if they're your parents. I'm fully of the view that family only goes so far. Family's very important. But if you have shitty family members, you don't need to keep them just because they're family, in my opinion. Family still has to earn their right to be in your life. If they're bad to you, get rid of them. You don't need them. And she honestly should have kicked her. Aside from Brianna, And Daniel, everyone in her life, were awful, and she had to kick them all out of her life, to be honest. But so she just felt like she had no backbone, and I hated that. I really hated that. So yeah. Also, I hated the fact they were going on like, oh, Daniel's such a baby. Oh, he's so young. He was 28. That's a full grown ass man. Fully grown. What do you mean? He's not a baby. He's not 18. He's not barely legal. Ugh, I hate that as well. So yeah, safe to say I rated Part of Your World 2.5 stars. I did have fun while reading it, do not get me wrong. I just have a lot of problems with the book. So I will not be continuing that little series or anything, I don't think. And it was closed door, which... So I might not read any more of her work. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm not in a rush to read any more Abby Jimenez books, personally. Next, I listened on audiobook to Daisy Jones and the Sixth. This one I've rated 4.5 stars. I found it hard to rate because it was an audiobook that I listened to it as, but I fully believe that audio is the best way to consume this book. It was so good. It fully, even more so, made them feel like this is a real band and real people that exist currently in the world. Same way as I still kind of believe that Evelyn Hugo is not a real person. It just doesn't make sense to me that this is not a real group that exists. Like, make it make sense. There are multiple voice actors, so every character has their own voice actor, as far as I'm aware, or voice. At least the main characters have their own voice actor. Maybe a few of the side characters kind of have a different voice actor, just putting on a different voice. But it's so immersive. It really just feels like you're watching like a documentary or like listening to one, I suppose, because there's nothing on screen. I just feel like the characters were so well fleshed out and so beautifully flawed, and it just felt so real, and I loved it. So yeah, I've rated this 4.5 stars. I feel like it could have been a 5 if I read it, maybe, but I also feel like if I read it, I wouldn't have been in it as much. So I really can't decide. But I've gone with 4.5 because I didn't have quite that 5-star feeling. Okay, and then I continued with the Dirty Air series, and I read Wrecked. This one I rated 4.5 stars. So far, the favourite of the series. I, at first, was a bit like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one. I think Collide is a lot of people's least favourite from what I've seen online since reading these. I felt so badly for Jax. I felt so much... I don't know. At first, I thought, oh, he's just going to be an idiot. In the first few books, you don't quite realise just how messed up he is, because it's focusing more on Liam and Noah in their respective books, and Liam and Jax is very much a side character, but he kind of comes across as if he's more put together in those books, and then you get into this one and you realize he is messy. He's very messy, but very human. At first, I think I wasn't quite sure why he was pushing Elena away, and I didn't think it really made sense. And then once it got to like the real truth of it, I thought, yeah, it kind of makes sense. But you gotta let her make her own decisions, and that was a little bit annoying. I hate when characters make decisions. I hate when people make decisions on behalf of other people. Like, no. Give the person the whole truth. Give them lay it all out on the table, and then let them decide where they're gonna go from there. I think that's only fair. But yeah, I thought Jax and Elena were very sweet towards the end, and his whole family was adorable. I felt Jax's character development was probably the best out of everyone in terms of how much he improved, if that makes sense. And then there was a few scenes with Caleb, who's a Make-A-Wish kid. Those were adorable. I loved those scenes, and they especially made me see Jax in such a good light. Yeah, I just really thoroughly enjoyed this book. And then because of the high of that one, I went straight on to Redeemed. This one I rated 5 stars. I obviously was looking forward to this one the most because I loved Sandy in the first book. This bear in mind, I had no idea what was going on with this. Again, the beginning of the book broke my heart. Didn't know what was going on. Also, actually, yeah, beginning of Wrecked, also crazy. I don't know what it was. I feel like nothing like that happened in Throttle. So with Collided, Wrecked, and Redeemed, I was like, what? Why is very tragic things happening right now? Beginning of the book, Santi goes through something very traumatic. So he's not the Santi we knew and loved from the first 3 books. So it's a bit like the whole hopeless Bo Eaton thing where he's been through something bad, and the person you meet in the first book is not who you have in that book. But I just thought this was so beautifully done. This disability rep, and I feel like it's done very well in a very hopeful way. Especially towards the end, there was like something happens in the end to do with that, which is very like inspiring for kids with disabilities. I think his character felt very deep, very, very fleshed out. He just felt so like real, like a real person, because he's gone from a quite happy-go-lucky guy to something really bad happens to him, and he's trying to deal with that, and he's not dealing with it, to then meeting someone who just completely turns his world upside down and makes him kind of doubt every belief he's had over the last few years, that he's not good enough, that he can't do what he wants to do, and all this kind of doubt that he's got about himself and about his future, and all this anger he's got about his future, which is rightfully so. I just really wanted to give him a hug. And to be honest, I really just wanted to give Chloe a hug as well. She was very sweet. For how much she has been through, she was complete sunshine. She just had she had the kind of view where, look, something bad's happened to me, but what am I going to do? It's happened. Am I going to let it destroy the rest of my life? No, because at least I have a life. At least I've got something more to go on from. So I should just carry on and keep going and not let it take out the joy and happiness that is in my life, because then I've let it win. Basically, she has a very positive very positive outlook, not a toxic positive, not in a toxic positivity kind of way, just in a what you're gonna do. Life is life. Sometimes bad things happen to you. You just gotta go on, and she is really what he needed after his whole bad situation. So yeah, she was perfect for him, and I loved them. Yeah, I just thought it was the perfect round off to this series, and yeah, absolutely loved it. Also, this one bed trope. We all love it. We all love it. One bed, fake dating, grumpy sunshine. Also, I just want to, because I've done like a favourite quote for most of the books, if I had one. My favourite quote for Redeemed was something that Chloe said to Santi, which was, personally, I don't care if it takes you a minute or an hour to get up, all that matters is that you do. And I feel like that perfectly encapsulates their relationship. Next, I read Scarred by Emily McIntyre. I originally wanted to read the other 3 books as well in this series because I've read Hooked. I felt funny reading this one at first because I didn't realise, because this one's set in like 1910s, and I thought they were all modern day, but apparently not. I rated this 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I didn't start enjoying it really until he skinned someone alive. And I think if that doesn't tell you I need therapy, I don't know what does. Yeah. Anyway, so that happened. So it was like after like over 100 pages in the book where I was like really like, then I got invested. I did really like Tristan, I will say. Tristan was he's morally grey in the best way, but he is the villain character where he literally says, I will burn down the world for you. And he basically does. I love that in a morally grey man. I love that. So yeah, this one's enemies, lovers, morally grey, MMC, touch her and die vibes. I felt like the beginning part of the book, time went so slow. Like it felt like it had been like a lot had happened. Not a lot had happened, but it felt like over so many pages it hadn't been very long. And then suddenly the second half of the book is like time is going by really quickly, and like it's just kind of jumping from thing to thing. Which is fair enough because it is over 400 pages, so I think it would have been very long if that was the case. But I feel like the pacing was just kind of off because of it, because the first part of the book was really slow, the second part of the book was really fast. It probably could have just met in the middle somewhere to kind of keep the pacing going, because that's what I think made it harder for me to get into it at first. Yeah, so 3.5 for this one, which I think, what did I rate Hooked actually? Oh, I read Hooked back in May. I don't realize I read that far back. I also rate that one 3.5 stars, so that kind of makes sense to me. And I will continue with the rest of the series eventually, but I don't feel like I need to get to it straight away. If I thought I kind of regretted reading part of your world, this next book I really regretted reading, and that is Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman. I should just make a point, okay? I haven't even put tropes, because what tropes do you have in this? I have had to do a flip out of my review because I had so many thoughts. So I'm going to go directly from this. Basically, I regret reading this. I was going to DNF this at like 70 pages. It's only 214. I got this because literally, right, here's on the front, daring and bracing, savage, sincere and searching, extraordinary, both insanely erotic and intellectually challenging, exhilarating and a formidable debut. Okay, I will say now, erotic, no. For one, the sex they're having, incredibly vanilla. Two, the main guy, Nathan, does not believe in safe words and does not believe in discussing what you're going to be doing in advance or discussing boundaries. You don't have to discuss, like, you don't have to like obviously plan out every sexual encounter, obviously not. But if you're introducing someone into your sex life, or you're going to be doing something out of, you know, the vanilla heteronormative sort of standard, you probably should talk about boundaries. In fact, even if you are just doing vanilla heteronormative things, you probably should still discuss boundaries beforehand. So you have expectations, you know what's a no, you know what's a yes. Just from the get-go. Also, communication during. A great thing to do. No, this man fully just thinks he knows what they want, and he's just going to do that. Like, this man is a walking red flag. He's a narcissistic, manipulative. Like, I can't tell you how much I hate him. But the problem is I hated every single character. So Eve's the main character whose point of view you're in at all times. She is so two-dimensional. Her whole personality is the fact that she's vain. And she likes sex. The point is, though, she's meant to be. She identifies as a lesbian. And then she meets up with Olivia and somehow gets into this like relationship with Olivia and Nathan, who Olivia and Nathan do not seem to have. It's not even a relationship that they have. It's really weird. He is not that bothered about her, and she is completely enamored with him. The power dynamic is very off. He's also her boss. It's meant to be, it's not daring, because the sex they have is pretty vanilla. And it's not even, it's like, it doesn't really go into much detail, aside from I think once that happens where Nathan like hits Olivia, but she also, it's been obviously pre-agreed on from previous encounters that that's okay with her. That's about as kinky as it gets. Yes, I was going to DNF this. I read forward just to see what happened at the end, and I saw something. There is a legal case, I'll say, that comes about, and I was like, oh please, he's definitely being charged. So I kept reading. I was very disappointed, to say the least, so I just then regretted reading it, because I was like, I've read this because it looked like it got juicy. It didn't. This book doesn't really have a plot. It's a character study, but like I said, the characters are two-dimensional, not likable in the slightest. There's also no character development. All three of them stay exactly the same throughout the whole 214 pages of this book. So I just felt it was completely unnecessary. Like I say, it wasn't sexy, it wasn't daring. It's basically just meant to be, if you're a feminist, don't read it, because it's basically, this book is about two girls idolizing a rich white man. It's terrible for feminism. The main character, Eve, seems to have it just ingrained in her that women, the only thing that women have to offer is their looks when it comes to love and sex. And she has no drive to do anything other than what she's doing currently. And she's not even happy in what she's doing necessarily. It's just, I hated this book. I rated it 1 star. I have never rated anything lower than 2.5. It was a 1 star. I regret finishing it. I have so much more to say. Like I say, I've written quite a lot. But obviously I don't want to spoil anything. Also, if you don't like Sally Rooney's writing, there's no speech marks in this either. So there's that. Okay, and the final book I read was My Dark Romeo. I actually started this while I was reading Acts of Service because I needed something else to just keep me going. This one I rated 3 stars, which I feel like as I read it, I enjoyed it better than Scarred. But there was a few things about this book that really annoyed me that I think have brought the rating down. The first off, I have to start off by saying the plural of gum, as in chewing gum, is not gums. You do not pop 3 gums into your mouth. You pop 3 pieces of gum in your mouth. It's not gums. And every time I read that, which was often because this man had an oral fixation for chewing gum, made me physically uncomfortable. It also really perpetuates the view that your virginity is when your hymen breaks, and that your virginity is all you've got to offer. This is, bear in mind, I would like to say that it's only set in this one place in Georgia where they think that. It's not the whole world that is thinking that. But in her mind, how she's been brought up, virginity is incredibly important and all that bull. But it perpetuates that view of your hymen is your virginity. And if that breaks, that's you've lost your virginity, which is not the case. For a lot of women, their hymen breaks before they even have any sort of sex. It just happens. It can happen when you're riding a bike. Second of all, virginity is what you choose it to be. Which, yeah. Anyway, it's a social construct. It's all bullshit. It's all, yeah. Anyway, that I hate. There was a few sex scenes that were really strange. I will not go into detail, but all I will say is this man was very against condoms because he didn't trust them. So why he trusted cotton, I will never know. Cotton does not stretch that far. Also, might I add, and it sounds very uncomfortable and slightly painful. And that scene made me want to put the book down. But after that, everything was fine. Every other sex scene after that was fine. The rest of the story was fine. It was just up to that point, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where's the logic? Fully, where's the logic? But yeah, ignoring those things, I did really enjoy it. I had fun reading it. And it was just a silly little dark romance, you know? So I rated 3 stars. I've done like a little stats page. So the total pages I read in January was 4,121. I've done like ratings for like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 stars. I'm not doing halves. If it's a 3 point something, it's a 3 star, like for this rating. So I've rated 1 book 1 star, 1 book 2 stars, 3 books 3 stars, 3 books 4 stars, and 2 5 stars. I read 6 romance, 2 dark romance, and 2 literary fiction, and 9 of the books were paperback, 1 was audiobook. So I think I'm going to start doing stats like that at the end of each month, just to kind of see what we're doing. The 4,000 pages does sound, but it isn't, not going to lie. But I mean, quite a few books were over 400 pages. I mean, My Dark Romeo was 478, Scarred was 447, Love Redesign was 528. So we read some thick books this month. I have not fully decided what my TBR is going to be for next month. I don't think I'm going to give myself one at the minute. I feel like I need to mood read because I gave myself a TBR for this month and I did not follow through. I mean, for most of it. I mean, on my TBR was Love Redesigned and Scarred. And was the Date Yeah series? The Date Yeah series was as well, I think. So, yeah. I'm just going to not do a TBR for February. Aside from, I would like to read The No Show by Beth O'Leary because that one's set around Valentine's Day. So I will do that. I will want to read that one this month. But that's all I've got for definites for February. So with that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read Acts of Service, what you thought about it. Because yeah. Let me know what you want to read in February and how your reading month was this month. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And I will see you in the next video.